know I got us. Say you know I got us. Hey, 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 clap, clap, hey, hey, whoop. Tony, 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 hey, hey, clap, clap, hey, hey, whoop. Tony, 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 hey.
What's up? What's up? What's up? What's up, y'all? We are back with another episode of Real Gents, Real Talk. We
What's going
are
on?
glad y'all are back with us. We are broadcasting live out of the studio of the After Party Radio. What's up, boss lady? Big shouts out to everybody that's tuned in. Make sure if you have not, go and hit share. Share the live, share the live, share the live. You can go to my page, you can go to Neiman's page, you can go to the After Party Radio. Make sure you share the live. Please, please, please share the live. Tonight is going to be a phenomenal conversation. But before we get to that, big shouts out to our special guest in the building. Hey,
Hey,
Shemar.
Shemar.
Hey,
So, yeah, we are live. Big shouts out to Neiman. What's up, brother?
What's going on? I missed y'all last week.
I know, right? I know,
Good to
right?
be
So we
back.
are down to Dior's is busy working, and Chris had some unfortunate situations to come about. So we gonna hold it down today.
Here we are.
We got it. We
We
got
got
it.
it.
But we are so honored and privileged to have the legend, icon of the city in the building.
Yep, Tina.
Yeah, hey, this is a pleasure.
Yeah,
Most
right on.
definitely. So y'all know before we start any conversation, we always do a mental check. So Neiman, how are you?
I'm doing good. Could be better, but I'm doing good. I'm doing
Understandable.
good.
I definitely understand.
Yeah.
How are you? I know it's a lot. I know it's definitely a lot, but
yeah.
it's just a
I don't
lot.
even have a number
I
right now,
understand.
so it's
I
just
understand.
trying to get back in the groove of engaging. Some I'm
Right.
not really used to. I'm not really used to not. I like being around people and talking to people, but like I'm. It's a hard thing. So like even everything just makes me emotional right now. Cause like
Understandable.
just how we were just talking, the minute that I went into my thoughts, it just put me in a
Different
The
space.
yeah.
situation.
It's
Makes
it's
sense.
hard sometimes. So like and so when I see people, it's like it's hard. Like people that you know because it's just so I don't have, but I'm trying to get help really like comfortable because I know like it's stuff coming up and I have to be around people. So I'm
Right.
trying to work on getting myself together mentally before I see people, you know,
Yeah, and
on
have to deal with all the emotions.
yeah, with all the
Yeah.
different emotions. So you have to get to a point to where you have to be a little bit
Mentally.
strong mentally
Yeah.
strong for everybody or so you have to be together because I'm already knowing that my inbox and my text messages and stuff is like
Insane.
insane
Yeah,
and it's
I
full
get
of
it.
pictures and stuff. So I don't want to. I'm just finding myself really trying to mentally be prepared for what I'm walking into. Of course Thursday with
Right.
the balloon release, and then of course, at some point we have to bury him. So
Right.
it's hard when you're dealing with people that you've known a long time.
Right.
Right on.
So I'm not gonna act like I'm not, like there. But like I probably would have been okay, like if I would have just not if I don't know, I guess I probably would have figured it out just sitting in the house.
I understand.
Yeah.
So I know you all can probably tell that the atmosphere is a little dim. So of course, for everybody that is tuned in, if you have not been privy, we definitely lost a phenomenal person this past weekend right here in the city. Preston, for those of you that may not know who we're talking about, Preston Dupree, which was Shamar's son. I had the pleasure of calling him my brother. So did Neiman, and so and Boss Lady, and
Mm-hmm.
so it's a bittersweet
Right.
conversation, but I definitely feel like that there's a lot that we can learn from this, and there's a lot of work that needs to be done moving forward. Um, Unfortunately, we had to lose a great person to a situation, but we have to figure out what we do moving forward to do our best to prevent situations like this. So before we even get into that conversation, because I know that there's going to be a heart wrenching conversation, big shouts out to you for you have bounced back. You took a break. You took a break, and you bounced back. You came back with a impact as far as community. I know you've always, as long as I've known you, you've always been really big on community.
Yeah.
And so I think that what you're doing with the town halls is phenomenal. The work that you're wanting to do and that you're doing with those that have been in prison that are trying to get back into
Society.
society, it is phenomenal. So, just before we get into that, just with everything that you got going, like, what is your vision as far as because you've been in a part of this community for decades, and you've seen it go up, you've seen it go down, and you've seen it go back up again. So, just with what you're doing as far as community, with the town halls, with the reform work that you're doing, like, what is your ultimate goal and what is your ultimate vision for what you're doing?
Well, I guess I would want to say, in a certain, I recognize as it relates to the black community as far as LGBTQ, like that we needed to just have more conversations. I think that social media, it serves its purpose as planting the seed, because if you notice that when someone makes a post, somebody responds because it
Right.
hits home to somebody. But what I thought and I was finding interesting is that within the community as a whole, that every time something happened, they were talking about it, and sometimes people hide behind their
I
words,
agree.
and people didn't really want to say what it was. So I wanted to get to a place to where I didn't. How can we start to fix some of the real issues that we have? And so it was a combination of things that I felt like people were affected by, and on the small scale, people had issues with. In the entertainment space,
Right.
to promotional wars, to feeling like they didn't have information about health or housing. And,
Right.
it was just so many different issues that I was seeing. So I wanted to create a space to where, and I'm gonna say this: I saw that um, as it relates to the white community, on Cedar Springs, Oakland, they do it, and
Right.
and they're really in those town halls talking about issues and finding resolve. But I think the real thing was they were just talking,
Right.
and once you start talking, then people start wanting to help.
So let me ask you this, because I've known you for years. How does it work for you, or how does it feel for you to have to be in a space to where it's unbiased? So you have to kind of pretty much, when you set the foundation and you open up the platform, you have to allow everybody to speak their piece and not actually take a side with, even if you feel a certain type of way about the conversation and you feel like that the details and why it didn't or did not work. How does it feel to be the person that have to mediate and then have to be the unbiased part?
Yeah, I walk in with really no opinion. I try to just moderate, because what I wanted to do, and a lot of times when I do lives, a lot of it is people have fed things to me. That was the main reason, another reason why I wanted to have the town halls, because people were constantly saying, "Hey, can I talk to you about something? This has happened.
Yeah,
Have called me with
exactly.
things," and so I would do those lives because I knew that they would listen to me, but I was speaking on the community's behalf. Of course, I've had my own issues, but I resolve them my the way that I know how. But everybody don't have the comfort level to address real issues or how they feel, because sometimes we don't want people to look at us a certain way, or even if it's on a friendship level, we still want to preserve relationships. And just because I may not like how or agree with what you're doing, that doesn't mean I still don't love you, I don't care for you. It's just me saying I need an opportunity to say we have a disconnect. So as far as going back to the town hall, is real. Well, first of all, I already know what the issues are. They inbox me and tell me what it is the issues are, or they reach out and I put it and I compile it, and I've already told myself what I'm walking into. And sometimes it's a lot. It's real serious concerns.
And I think that a lot of people may not know this and may not be privy to this information, but I've had because of my relationship with you, I know a little bit more. So people don't understand that before these spaces were available, you actually encountered a lot of these issues and a lot of these things. And even with the phenomenal relationship that you had with Kurt, at one point you all were in a space to where it was divisiveness or back and forth, and you all had to it kind of severed your relationship for a while, but then you all mended it, and to a point to where then when he would deal with things community wise, he would call you to address it because he knew that his point would get across. So like with being in a space like that and having to deal with a person of that magnitude, to be in a negative space, turn it positive, and then become an asset to that person, like how does that feel?
I mean, it's a good feeling, and I think that prior to
because you've been doing this for years,
and even just like even with my my family, like with my gay family,
right.
I've always tried to be, it started with that, just trying to be a mediator, because with my own kids and grandkids, they used to fight and they had their issues. So it really just kind of started there. They did. And then of course, with working in the industry, there's things that go on and, beef. So I experienced it, but on the larger scale, like dealing with Kirk, we both cancers. And so, we walked into the situation where I was, to a certain degree, very untamed as far as my opinion and my thoughts, whereas he was a little bit more structured, although his thoughts were they were the same.
Right.
And I think that what I didn't want to get away from, and what he made sure I didn't, is to make sure that I always was connected to community and being normacy, because people sometimes, as far as us being people, black people, we really sometimes we don't understand each other if it's too high, but sometimes that relatability is something that makes people want to talk to you. So I always tell people I like chicken just like y'all.
Right.
I still do the same things that y'all do. I've tried to make sure that I didn't come across as someone that people felt like they were not connected to, because my life experiences are the same. And that was what attracted me the most about Kirk, was that Kirk's life experiences were the same. And even with being in my position and how people saw me, I still needed guidance. I still needed mentorship. So that was really what I connected with. And his backstory, and we've all had to make it and hustle and bustle. I knew those stories. I didn't, and that was what I needed to put me in a space where I am now. So now, fast forward, I can navigate and moderate with people, because you just really want to create a space where they can say they said it and you didn't say it for them.
It was something that you said this past town hall that really resonated. You made the statement, you said, I remember a time when I was that you come at me the wrong way, and then it's about to be a fight. You know what I'm saying? Now you in a space to where you address the situations completely different, because you are no longer the person that you were then.
Yeah. So as far as I'll say this, I can be combative but not confrontational.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying? Meaning that I can meet you where you at, and I can call a thing a thing. And what I don't, I have zero tolerance for is I don't like to play make believe. Like I don't do jugs. Meaning that I'm intelligent enough to know if someone's saying something, if it's references to me, and me saying combative means that I'm going to respond back, and I'm going to let you know that I know that your issue is with me. Now, confrontation is just me valuing what I want to do and what I'm trying to do and what I stand to lose. At this point, being confrontational is non-existent because you know the levels of what you of where we can take. I don't have nothing to prove with nobody in that capacity. As far as we can agree to disagree, but
Right.
I mean, I think at a certain point, you know, it don't have to go there. You know, I do, but but as a man, you know, we still feel like we have to be lions in that regard, you know. So that's something that I will say, that I create boundaries, and I always recognize how far I'm willing to take a situation, and I recognize that I have, you know, what I have to lose. But I mean, just being in this space, nah, it's not that serious. I'd rather just address it and move on. And that's what I'm really trying to encourage everybody with the community and cocktails, that, you know, we can really talk about the stuff. And every time I come back, I make sure that whatever we talked about, what was this resolved? Because we don't want to keep coming month to month to month
And
to
not
month
having a resolution.
and not having a resolution. So everything that we talk about, I go back and revisit it and try to figure out what can we do to, you know, diffuse some of these issues. And that could be whether it's from the entertainment to even just trying to make sure that we are putting ourselves out there better with being better representatives to the youth.
I agree.
So
So I know that kind of going into our topic. So I know that on your live yesterday, you're really emphasizing and have taken this new stance on gun violence because of everything that has just transpired. So with that, I see you been getting a lot of support from community. And I know that this will be something even more so of personal to the heart thing because of how it is affecting you personally. And I think that, like you were saying on the live, when as a community and we become a part of families, when things like this happen, it doesn't just affect their biological family, but it affects us as a whole. Because, baby, if you knew Preston, Preston was the firecracker. You know what I'm saying? He was gonna be the life of the party. He was gonna keep you in stitches. Bitch was gonna make sure you was drunk because he knew how to have a good time. And one of the things that even with everything that has always been like a fun memory of me is, I can probably count on one hand how many times I've ever seen Preston just upset or mad or not in good spirits. Every time I seen him, he was always on a high. You know what I'm saying? And he was always going to. If he was in the room, he was gonna be the life of that space, that wherever he was at. If he was out, if he invited you into his space, if y'all were in a space together, even I can remember when we first started with Boss Lady, if Preston was in the studio, it was gonna be laughing the entire time we was there. You know what I'm saying? Because he was always going to make it a vibe. And and I think if nothing else, that will be one thing I will always take from that, is because he was always a good spirited person. And I know with y'all relationship and how long he's been a part of, in your circle, like what was that experience like? Just first making him your child and just the upbringing.
I have a lot of kids.
Right, I know.
A lot. I have a lot of kids from here to New York. But I have a lot. But as far as Dallas goes, Preston was the child that challenged me the most.
I can see that.
Because his personality was just like, he had ways like mine. It was the same person. But Preston, from the very first time I even met Preston, I met Preston through Dior actually, and then Preston wanted to start to entertain, and I remember around the time that they were like, well, my kids at first were a lot of my kids before Preston. They were real like laid back, real conservative, and all of those things. So when I was found out that Preston wanted to be my child, I was like, well, whew.
Okay.
Yeah, because you want to make sure. Like I knew that I had what at that particular time, and we got to go back to like 2005, 2006, you know what I'm saying? So when I'm Preston was 18 years old. So, and I already knew like, okay, well, how am I going to be able to, what am I going to be able to do for him?
Yeah.
Because he was really defensive. So I think like the very first time that we talked on the phone, he was just real honest. We talked about his family and him just not really having a father, figure present. And, so I walked into that situation like I did, and like I said, times have changed, where that when you really made someone your child,
Right.
it was it was a little bit what I consider a little bit more serious because most of my sons, when I met them, they weren't even 21 and they were young.
Right.
And so, and I like I appreciate Miss P, Mama P, because there's things that you take with your upbringing as being with your family, but then there's just things, and you still have to have mentors and that parental figure when you transition into this community because it's a whole lot to take in. Everything that you can remember in those things that our morals and values that our parents teach us as children, the minute that you decide to be in this community, it's the rules are changing.
Yes, they are.
And you have to be able to navigate. And for what families represented at that particular time it was all about how everybody was raising and because based on what family you went in, it said a lot to what those morals and values looked like.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, I knew that with my family, I came into, Duprees were really about family. We were about the get-togethers. We was about the cookouts and getting drunk, and we were very protective of each other. And so what I recognized then is that he really wanted somebody that he could talk to about life issues, and he really wanted to learn from. And I didn't even realize at the beginning that once that was established, he was really watching my ways and like from the hustle. Preston saw the good and the bad. So Preston didn't just see what was on stage. Preston saw the struggle. He saw what us doing what we had to do for that particular time. And one of the things that I appreciate that what he took from what I was doing with my kids, he was instilling them in his own kids, because it's not just about, it was about survival and creating a safe space, but it's also too making sure that you are trying to tell, especially black men, about this scene. And making sure that we make right decisions, and whether it's sex, relationships, making sure that we're telling them. And I also had to diffuse a lot of situations with Preston because Preston was very sensitive, and he perceived, most of his beefs were really with his brothers. They cat fought. So and so, but it was what I say, trial and error, but it was also like one of the greatest rewards that I have, because I started to see the type of person that he turned out to be. And
one thing I could say is that what I learned about Preston was you knew that Preston came from the era of the gay family when it was really about
gay
family.
Yeah.
Because as long as I've known Preston, he's had kids STEM, you know what I'm saying? And that was the era
We
in
were
which
from.
I came, because, you when it was family, y'all lived, I remember at one point I had 5 or 6 of my own, staying with me, and that was what family was.
I told somebody today that I honestly don't even really believe that people should be kids still need to be at home to develop a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Like at least they're at 21. And because what I realize is that you don't have a strong sense of self.
Right.
You don't really know who you are. So that was really what my contribution was, is because I was dealing with a lot of young black men who still didn't know who they were, and they needed to have a space just to be able to develop and not be monitored.
Right.
Or because sometimes we can come out and still be closeted.
I agree.
If that makes sense.
It does.
And so I wanted to make sure that whenever we did family things or we got together, that it was a judgment free zone. And they could do whatever they wanted to do, and there was some closeness with that. Right. No stress, and I was more so back then than now. I was really hard on them. Y'all talk about how I was on with the show and stuff, but I was really hard on them. I had Preston crying one time because I wasn't letting up on Preston, because I felt like if Preston focused on what his true gift was,
You saw something in him.
I did. I really saw something in him, and I said this yesterday. Sometimes, the best life doesn't really necessarily start in the beginning, or because you're still developing, or in the 20s where you got to test the waters.
Exactly.
Things were really just starting to happen for Preston when Preston really started to establish who he was and what he wanted to do. So that's when you really start to say, oh, life is good, because he really had a plan and knew. So I was in a space where I was like, okay, well, he about to take off. And he had no fear. He was not afraid to try something new. Preston would walk up to a stranger on the street and get cool with him.
Yes,
he wasn't afraid of people. He took chances, something that people don't do often anymore. He didn't care what people thought about him. He didn't live in bondage of expressing himself. And all those great qualities, I think that we're all processing, because I think that as we're taking in this loss, just to be able to be connected with that type of energy and that type of spirit, something that we neglect often within our own self,
Right.
just to have the courage and the ability to just be who you want and take chances, because a lot of people don't want to do that.
Right.
So I those are the things that I'm reminded of with him. It's just that he wasn't afraid of life. Yeah,
agree.
that
Well, I'm taking everything in because, like Shemar, Preston is the reason I know all these homosexuals. So, he was my very first person to take me to a gay club, take me to do things, take me to meet Shemar and them, and that was before we all had, like said, we was in family. It was we used to say we was the Set It Off clique. It was me, JT, Preston. Well, he was Derek then, Derek, and Roderick. So we would always say we was the Set Off crew, and we started I don't even know how Preston knew all of them, because we was all just kids in school. He was already out of school, but he started taking us over to meet Essence, and it's just thinking about all those memories of that's how I first went to my first gay club. He was like, okay, y'all, this is what we got to do. He always had a plan. He would be like, everybody first give me $3 to put in the car. They got a little neon. We was like, okay. So he was like, we got to go to Big T. They're going to give you the fake ID. We're going to get in there. It's this tall dude, PT at the door. He going to let y'all in. And we did it. And it's like, just thinking of all this stuff, all the things we did. And probably not too long ago, probably a few months, me, him, Roderick, me, him, Tiff, JT, we all linked back up and we went over to Preston's house. He said, bitch, come eat. That's his thing. So we all went over there, and it was just we was all like, y'all, look where we at now. Because at one point we was sitting there, what family you want to be in? What family we going to? It was like we were young. Right. He wanted to be a Dupree. I wanted to be a fox. I thought them foxes was foxes. So, and JT went to Gotti. So it was we all came out right there together, and we branched off from each other. We never got into it, lost contact, but it was just I'm with this family. We do our family thing. Shemar family do his family thing, and then somehow I end up becoming the Dupree people, but I don't even know. It just all okay. I just got all in it, but it's just that was my boy, and it's just it's just crazy. I would never think this.
And it
Like,
was something that he just said, which is what I've been really trying to push to. It's just where we kind of lost. Is this strong sense of family, and I even applied when he goes back to like him saying, "Bitch, come eat," because one thing that they knew that I didn't mind doing, I pull out a pot, and I was
Okay.
always cooking, and I
don't-
wanted them
he don't
always.
never do that no more.
But you know what? It's so funny. They always say I don't cook anymore, but I just feel like life.
Still winning my pop.
It's kind of like we life, and you get away from that because and I'm gonna quit making excuses. We don't appreciate this sense of family, even with our real family, till something like this happened.
Yeah.
And every fond memory that I have with him, it had something to do with that family dynamic
Right.
Yep.
and what we were all, what we were doing. And so that's something that, like I said, I was talking about Loretta's post, like there were so many families, and every family represented something. But one thing about it is everybody's family was so close. Like
They were
it's
so-
crazy.
yes, they was
Everybody's
really
family.
close.
Everybody's
Yeah,
family.
club.
Yeah, and so and they were defensive, like behind their families, and
And I think we missed that now.
we
Obviously, it's not like that
Yeah,
no more.
it's not like that now. It's about you being my child because you got the most
Yes,
likes
or
and
you-
views, or because you are the cutest, or because you got
Yeah.
this platform. And it's not about
The
what it
unity,
was
the
back in
family.
the
Nah,
day when
it's-
we came out. Yeah,
yeah,
it has gotten so far from it, and I feel like that's kind of where our community gets lost is because the foundation of what family was based off of is not what is being carried
and I
out.
want to say this. I saw sometimes people say, well, now you can't tell the new kids anything, but you can tell them anything then.
But you know what? And I almost was believing that until Fat, my son Mark, has a new child, and he's 21, just moved. He's original from Mississippi, and he's a hothead, firecracker, and so his relationship that he was in when he got here, he was fighting, consistently fighting, doing this, doing that. Every time he turned around, he was getting into it. And so when Fat made him his child, and we had a conversation with him, and we told him, like, you're a part of a family now. You can't act a certain way. You can't move a certain way. It's certain things. Now you're representing a brand, and it's a lot of things you're gonna have to change about who you are because we don't do that. We don't move like that. And at first, when we had the conversation, I'm thinking it's gonna go on one after the other. And I can honestly say that since that conversation, I've seen him walk away or carry himself differently because he realizes that now I'm a part of something that stands for something, so I have to be careful in what I do and how I act.
And I would say this is like I said, even with Preston, like I probably out of all my kids, that was the one that I probably went through the most with, because like I said, he was a firecracker, and I knew what my brand and what it represented,
Right.
and because I think that he did want a family dynamic.
He did.
He really was. He now he would if he had to, but he really kind of a lot of his ways changed, and he valued that. And and we, like I said, we argue. Okay, listen, but he received it. Like I said, a lot of times to the point to where, early on he would cry. But the thing that makes me feel good the most is it's like now we're in a time where, like I said, the impact of nurturing young men and developing, it's so many people with 86 gay mamas and 86 gay daddies, and sometimes it does take a village. One thing that makes me feel good is this person only had one daddy.
But so let me ask you this: since you say that, do you feel like that is helping a person when you turn around and they got 5 gay daddies and 8 gay mamas? Do you really feel like that they're getting they're getting what they really need?
It depends on what. It starts with the mentor. We're gonna say mentor / parent. It starts with what the mentor intention is with the person that wants to be. You have to establish from the door, When I have people that even reach out to say, well, you know what, I would love for you to be my dad or whatever, and I automatically saying, well, why, or what is it that you're looking at, or what is it that you're trying to do? Because then I need to figure out now how am I going to micromanage my time to make sure I'm committed to making sure you are getting the things that you're saying you're looking for from me. The only time that it can become conflict is that whoever else is mentoring them, their values and morals as it relates to community don't align with yours. So I used to have gay kids who had gay moms who values and morals, then especially Shania, didn't necessarily align with mine. Meaning like she may be like, you can go do this and that, and I'm like, oh no, I don't do that. But as far as how me and Shania saw community, we were on the same page, so it was okay. So I think that having multiple parents can work if all the parents are planting seeds, different seeds, for it to be
For the greater good.
for the greater good, because everybody can contribute something different. So you can have different parents that are offering something different, but the parent has to be intentional on what they're signing up for. God is good, because one of the things that I can say is that for every son or every daughter I've ever had, you know, I haven't had to bury a lot of them.
Right.
And that makes me feel good. And then of course, I don't have kids that typically change parents a lot. You see, you know what I'm saying? I don't want to do a disservice.
And I think that when you
Yeah.
when you parent like that, they have no reason to. And even for me, even though I moved here 2010, you know, just being around you, I've learned a lot. And I feel like that when we are in spaces and we're around these people that we look up to and that are mentors and they have been in this game for so long, when you're around people, things rub off on you. And so things that, or where you may have moved that, before you met this person, you move one way, and then after you meet them, you move a different way. I feel like that those things rub off, you know what I'm saying? Because you're learning. But if you're not in spaces and you're not around those people and you're taking on, these new kids, it's kind of like the blind leading the blind, because you don't have any values instilled in you. So how can you teach something that you don't have?
And another thing about me, what if whenever I make someone my child, that it is what it is.
Right.
I don't not acknowledge them. I don't say that's not my child anymore, because it is what it is, and that's how I look at it. I have many that I may not agree with how you're moving. So if I go a period of where I don't speak to some of my kids for a while, because I have to allow you, especially if I disconnect with what I feel like you need to go through, I'll pull back. And even when, me and Preston went through our periods of where we just were not speaking, but I got to live life you. But because I already done that, and I don't want to get I don't want to get into it with you about something that I've already experienced. Right. And what I do create boundaries for is like, I don't want to create spaces to where we're disrespecting one another. Like, those are things that I just can't do. And so once I feel like the dust settles, we can come back and we can revisit it and hear your point of view and mine. Especially when me and Preston, we would go back like if nothing ever happened.
And one thing I can say, and I'm sure y'all can attest to this, I've seen and experienced Preston the hothead, but I've also experienced Preston the get up out of his bed at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning.
Oh yeah,
because somebody's calling and somebody needs something, and he's there. I've seen him go and get a child of his that won't get up and go to the doctor, and he going over there and
he went through all of that.
You need to get your ass up. Like, I've experienced that side of Preston, and I think for a lot of people, we knew Preston as the high head, we knew Preston as the hustler, we knew Preston for a lot of things, but we cannot take away the fact that Preston, regardless of how individuals looked at him, Preston was really, really big on family. If he
And family.
called you anything close to family,
He-
he meant that.
he was
and
big on
even
family.
like I'll never forget, we had a situation and he called me. He said, "Now, brother, now I'm gonna ask you something, bitch. I don't know if it's true, but I'm gonna tell you what I heard." And if it's true, we need to figure this out. We got to talk about this. And that was one of the things that I love about him is because he didn't just he didn't just take what he heard and came at you sideways. Now he could, but if he valued
If he
your
valued
relationship, if he called you family, then that's how he handled anything that came about. You know what I'm saying?
He was about family.
He
and,
definitely
and
was.
I and
Definitely
it's like
was.
now I just like I on a personal like I understand why that he valued family a lot, and he missed. And whenever we talked, he's always, "Oh, Dad, I just miss us all getting together," and I always would try to find a time on trying to do that. I was just thinking about that like the last time we talked. He was like, "Oh, Daddy, when you gonna get together? 'Cause I miss your pasta," and doing that. And I just kind of wish that I would have probably been a little bit more aggressive in just making the time. And I would always say, well, we just all, but he was forward. Because if I said we were doing something, he was going to come and say, I'm going to bring this, because he was more about the relationships he had, because everybody that Preston knew, he really still was in a good space with them. Like Neiman was saying, like they just, life, like I said, life's us sometimes, and we start getting busy. And
And regardless how far, how long between we go to talk, when we get in front of each other,
It be
it's
so
like,
normal.
brother,
It's like-
it's
like-
and it was,
it's normal. It's
Yeah.
And that's when you know that it was genuine, and that's when you
Yeah.
know that it was real. One thing that I admired about him, and I told him, because he told me, he was like, "Well, I'm just, I'm over the scene. It's
Yeah.
just not my thing anymore." And when he made that decision to separate himself from the scene, he really, really chimed in on
his
what
hustle.
Preston wanted. And there came the music, you know what I'm saying? There came
The cooking.
the cooking and him doing his spices. And it's like, even with the lounge that he opened, it was like that was his opportunity.
Yeah.
It was like God gave him that opportunity to separate himself, for him to really do the things
Yeah.
that he had dreamed to do, you know what I'm saying, for this reason here.
I will want to, like, when I took the break, and I took a break. Preston had a lot to do with that. That was when everything had happened after the ball, and I was like, I'm gonna leave ballroom alone. And Preston was just like, Daddy, your legacy is so good. You can walk away from this and never have to mess with anything else. He said you need to just leave it alone and figure out something else that you wanted to do. And he had a lot to do with. So I wasn't bothered. I wasn't bothered. I was trying to figure out because I was like, okay, I got to still finish school. And to your point, I wanted to make sure that if I was going to still continue to be in the community, that it was impactful.
Right.
And something that Kirk always used to say, and it's a way of life for me, just go where there's a need. And when you start to dive into paying attention to what the community needs, you don't ever have to worry about feeling overlooked or being in a competition, because you're going to operate off of what you feel like the people need, whether it's for entertainment spaces, all the way up until just making sure we're nurturing people's wellness. So that was something that I made sure that whatever I came back into was impactful. So of course I wanted to focus on prison reform, and I wanted to focus on all the things that I'm doing now, but I needed to take a break to figure out, and if I was going to insert myself in it, making sure that it was something that was of substance and that people could really receive and process. And I could shoot the shit with everybody, and everybody knows that. However, I still have a real concern about, are we really being productive, or are we still stagnant in what we were doing 20 plus years ago? And that's the things that are important to me. What's so fascinating about being in a beautiful club with flat screen TVs when the thought process of our community is still in the 1990s? You know what I'm saying? You know, where we are we still really creating a progressive community, because it's draining to feel like that your only contribution to coming into the scene is sex, drugs, and rock and roll. You see what I'm saying? Because we go out, we spend most of our years having a good time, and then it's just about the party, the party, the party, the party, the party. And so I felt like I wanted to make sure that we are, don't just, people. There's other things that we all could be doing. So that's what my service is now.
That's why I used to like when you used to do the bowlings.
Yeah.
You used to make up random things, and it would be like, yeah, okay, this family versus this, like them was.
I missed those.
So I was always trying to make sure that we are, because imagine coming out now, and then 5 years from now, your whole memory is going to just be about clubs. So I was just making sure that we're being well-rounded in what we're, as far as socializing, and two, like, just making sure people have an alternative plan to what they want to do for themselves.
Right.
And that really is just really where I'm at now. So, like I said, with Preston, that's something that I always think about with him. Preston was not afraid to try something different. And that's why he knows so many people. Because he was, everywhere.
Yes, he was.
Yeah. He used to idolize you. We didn't know why. We never, because it was like he was just the show host that we would always see up there talking loud, scoring on people laughing. And he used to just be like, I love him. He loved you, Kennedy, and Vega. It was something about them three. He wouldn't. Them was always his peoples.
What Preston got me doing,
Crazy.
He got me when Shemar wasn't clocked in the club. Meaning, like, I always say this: we create these personas of who we need to be for people to get what they paid for.
I agree.
So you see what I'm saying? It's like you pay because you want to go get drunk, so you have to make sure you're drinking watered down. So he got when Shemar wasn't clocked in. Yeah. So, and those were the things that he valued, because I was still trying to be real with him and, like, don't do your job. Watching, and to a certain degree, I think I probably dropped the ball with making sure, as far as his selection of the type of men that he wanted to deal with. I am also navigating through my own, internal grief, because you go through periods where you feel like you blame yourself with certain things, because it's a lot of things that I feel like I'm recognizing now that I just really wish that I probably would have said a little bit more. So sometimes it's just not good to be quiet about every single thing, because this particular situation is one that I would have probably been like, hell no. Right. You know what I'm saying? Like, really, what's going on? And the thing that about this is that even down to his mother, everybody's like, I just didn't feel right. And that's something that I'm having to just really struggle with. Just, you just have to know when to just be like, oh no, that's not, that's not okay. And, we have to kind of like be okay with letting certain things go. Everything that look good is not good for you. And I wanted to say this too before we get off topic. Originally you asked me about gun violence and why that, I don't know right now why it's becoming and why it's going viral, because right now Preston's thing has gotten over close to 100,000 views, and the conversation about even just the balloon release is attracting people, because I had somebody say, well, hey, I lost somebody to gun violence, I'm gonna be there. And you don't realize, even to close to home, even with Tam, a lot of people have lost somebody to gun violence, and it's senseless. And I said this the other day, like, people just don't want to take an ass whooping anymore. Ass whoopings are healthy. They are. Ass whoopings are healthy, because you're gonna either do one or two things. You either gonna learn how to get better the next time an altercation happen, or you ain't gonna do this shit no more.
But you'll heal from it.
You'll heal from it. You can heal from an ass whooping, but you can't heal from
guns being like that a key point in our time. Like
No,
all them fights
it,
at the Emmett Pearl, I done ran
no,
people over and didn't even get shot.
it,
Like,
it wasn't. And so I think that with people, so many people that have been, affected by it, it's just like, okay, it's just not okay because most of the people that have lost somebody to gun violence, it's really senseless. Like you could have, and the thing that when I get angry about it is that you could have did it. You could have just been done. You could have just been done. That's the thing that angers me. Like, why not just be done or whatever? But because people don't know that once you do that,
you're changing your life forever.
you
man.
change your life forever.
So
And
just
other
because
people's
I
life.
know you, I know this is going to be something big that you're going to advocate for.
Yeah, we've been already talking about this needs to happen and that needs to happen. We're in the process of saying, well, it's a lot of other conversations that I also feel like we have to be aggressive with, and this may affect people too a little bit. And I think what's sensitive needs to become insensitive. I think that it's time out to pacify DL men.
Right.
And it's time to call a thing a thing. Because you being DL is not my problem.
Right.
Because, I also tell somebody too, if you switch DL around, it's gonna say low down. But also too, we have to navigate through those stigmas and create spaces and at some point start to integrate with people who don't understand it. But the thing about it is that imagine if everybody could really just do what they wanted to do and not have to worry about criticism
Society, yeah.
in society.
And
More people would be alive.
And I'm glad that you said that
Yeah.
because people don't understand. Well, they probably know now more than what they did, is how much that has affected our community. A lot with our trans women, more so, but it has really affected our community. I've had friends myself, bush queens that have lost their life because of the same thing with dealing with the same type of men.
Well, the thing that let me say this as a parent, what I'm not going to do with especially people that are defending that, what I'm not going to do is act like we're going to play naive.
Right.
So let's do this. That if you don't get it, we're now in a time where just like selling weed is a hustle, manipulating gay men is one too. And if you can get a gay man that's willing to do things for you, you will play the game. And it's fine. You may go as far as to engage in some form of sexual activity, because it's going to benefit you in some way.
Right.
And you're going to put, it's okay to put a dollar amount on it because it feels good. It already feels good, but you're also going to put a dollar amount on it or what you're getting out of it. You know why? Because you need to compensate for saying the urge really feels good. But I ain't really gay, but I did what I needed to do because I was going to get a shoe or he was going to buy me a game or he promised me this or he promised me that. But really, it feels good. You know what I'm saying? Because I can dive in deeper. It ain't your thing, but you don't have a problem having a hard dick when you know you finna get some money.
You said a word.
You see what I'm saying? You ain't having no erectile functions. So let's say that. So let's move on from that piece and say, aside from that, it's not the problem about none of that. It's about owning it, because nobody want to own that.
Right.
That's what they do, or how we've all dealt with those kind. Of men, because we will all be lying and say that it's almost like a fetish. It's cute. We like the little stray boys.
With
It's
no
cute.
deal, man.
Yeah. Well, I know what I know what comes up. I'm just saying it's manipulation, because I'm hearing the things that are being said, but you can't walk in and you can't tell me that you walked into a situation being naive. Where it became a problem was it was okay if a lot of straight men love it being transactional, but they have a problem when you start becoming emotional because now you're emotional with what's transactional to me. So now I have a fear of if I leave you alone, are you going to exploit what we've been doing?
That makes sense though.
You see what I'm saying?
I agree.
We have to look at it from the psychology. That's why that I'd rather kill you than allow you to exploit me. You see what I'm saying? And a lot of times, of course, because yes, I'd have fell in love with you. So, jealousy kicks in. I don't want you talking to your baby mama. I don't want you looking at this girl. I'll have a problem with all of these things. You know what I'm saying? That's natural. But the delusion comes in is that if we know he like women, what the hell you think you gonna get? You know what I'm saying? That it's not gonna be a longevity in that. So sometimes you need to establish yourself for whoever wants to date with the DL men. Just make sure you go in knowing that, especially in this time and era, for them it's all transactional. No different than you buying weed from them.
Right.
It's transactional. Now, if you walk in and you trying to make it all emotional and be in love and all of that, then you start to create a situation where your safety is going to be at harm because he's already telling himself that you're not going to be able to let him go because now you're emotional. And what does he stand to lose? You see what I'm saying? Because on his page, he had everything on his page but Preston. And he was selling to everybody else that he had a roommate. And they was homeboys. Y'all love a good homeboy. And there was nothing else going on. You see what I'm saying? But that wasn't necessarily the case. So for me, and what my role is right at this very moment, I don't want to play those games. You see what I'm saying? Because the thing that bothers me the most, and I say this all the time, the rules don't apply to women. You see what I'm saying? A woman can go sleep with a woman and have a man and go back and forth and do all those things. The rules are not they just don't. And the way society look at it is, it's more of a fantasy
For a woman.
than they look at all the stuff but the black man, is doing women a disservice because he's going to go lay up with another man because you've told yourself that he's obligated to lay up with you. Not realizing that he may have an emotional disconnect to you because what's core and what I've heard with a lot of DL men is that women are not executing certain aspects emotionally when it comes to DL men because there's the pressure of you to laid up with some hood nigga who got 18 felonies, can't get no job, but you mad because you want him to be a man.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? He lack areas of emotional connection, so he can't be a father. He got to hear all your mouth all the time. So sometimes their emotional outlet, here we come because we petting them.
Yeah.
Oh, it's not that okay. It's so fine. They come over our house and they can lay up and not worry about it, play the game, smoke weed, and do all of those things. Those things that we do. You see what I'm saying? Because we'll do all of that.
Yeah.
We'll do all of that and send him home back with money, the very money that she didn't get. Because she was mad. Now he got money to buy Pampers and food to do the things for her. But women will attack gay men because we taking something for you. No, what I've done is it's elevated you to shut the fuck up.
Ooh.
And I'm sorry. But my anger and my frustration is, here we go, creating all of this stigma. But imagine if y'all just would have just been okay with him just finding out if this what he wanted to do. Imagine if imagine the freedom of getting up and if you're a man and you think you find a man attractive, you could tell your wife or tell somebody else, well, I don't know, he can't, and not have any backlash.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Wow.
People never think about that. So we have to get to a space to where we have to start respecting people wanting to engage and experiment and do what they want to do.
Yeah.
And that's the problem. So yes, trans women are dying, and yes, gay men are dying because of the stigma that come behind it.
I agree.
And it's two sides that's coming out now. You victimized me, and I couldn't do this and I couldn't do that, but you engaged in all all the perks. You stayed because of the perks. You stayed because of the perks. And that was what kept you there.
Right.
The perks kept you there. but you didn't want the emotional part that came, and you was disrespectful in what he was doing. So imagine being someone with that personality like Preston, and you know, Preston had to do whatever he needed to do to make sure you had what you needed.
Right.
And then here you come being disrespectful.
Right.
Now I feel some kind of way. And then at 21, you not really able to dilate and be
Yeah, I guess so. You
communicative.
ain't
So guess
there.
what? Everything with you is dismissive. So that made me mad even more. So now I find that disrespectful. So now I'm going to become disrespectful. So now we both got to protect our territories as men. So guess what we started doing? We started boxing. You see what I'm saying? Because now one has to control the other. Because now we're engaging physically. Because you're not gonna disrespect me, and I done did all this stuff for you and showed you how much I am. Your mama them ain't even there for you. Here I am. You see what I'm saying? And you saying, man, I just thought we were gonna be this, and that. Man, I still like women. You know, all of that stuff, right?
Yep.
And so now, even up until to the last minute, you still needed to prove who you was as a man, regardless of if it took somebody else's life.
Right.
So for me, I've delved deep into it because I understand what this is really about. Aside from how everybody else want to pay attention to it, because people want to be ignorant to really what it was. But I understand it because I've had those phone calls from Preston about having to deal with ungrateful men. But at the same time, it was transactional. You know, money can buy everything, but money can't buy love. Money can't buy loyalties. We've all experienced thinking we did something for somebody, they're going to be loyal. No. Money doesn't do all those things. So if you know, my suggestion is if that's your fetish and you like old tradie man, you need to make sure that you know what you're walking into. Right. Keep it transactional and not emotional. You know. Right. But that's where I'm at with it. I just felt like it was senseless. And even the youthful mindset is and I'm going to leave y'all with this, how a person could just be that comfortable with killing somebody and not even tend to them.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's real crazy.
That's the thing what I'm saying is that the youthful mindset is that you was okay with killing somebody and not even tending to them. You gonna call the police when you get ready. You see what I'm saying? And to what she was saying earlier, you know, could there have been an opportunity? You know, no, because you was intentional on what you're doing. It wasn't to hurt anybody. It was to take a life because that would have been some relief. But it wasn't, you was in fear. The only thing you were in fear of was your reputation.
Right.
Because you glamorized how fearless you are on Instagram. When I see people with guns, that just tells me that you ain't afraid of nobody.
Right, exactly.
It's whatever.
Yeah.
So that's my whole thing, and that's why I said, you know, now I'm left with all of these emotions because it's things that I'm aware. I you know, other things I can receive anything. I don't want to hear no backstories about this, and that or whatever because I've been around long enough to know what it is and what's going on. And one thing I can say that I know more than a lot of people, Preston's been in my life long enough for me to have an idea of what Preston have going on and the type of people he was engaged in because going back to his kids, Preston would give the world and go hustle and risk his freedom to feed his kids. What you think he gonna do for a man? So nobody don't have to tell me anything about that, you know, because I know the kind of heart he had. You know, it was, for me, where he dropped the ball is he didn't see the value in himself to know that somebody will want you for you. And imagine what you can do and how you can thrive. Just simply pour all that energy into somebody that wants you.
Yeah.
Quit trying to invest in making somebody be with you that don't. You know, so that I just don't think that Preston truly saw his self-worth. Because if he really saw his self-worth as a beautiful black man, Preston could have had any man he wanted that wanted to be with him. Because people want a good man. I do. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. So people want a good man. So if he really would have saw what his real value is, they wouldn't even equally yoked. Look at what Preston was at and what Preston had going on, and look at what he had going on. Not a damn thing. Right. So like I said, I just realized, to me, in areas where I probably feel like as a mentor, where I probably dropped the ball is that you got to constantly tell people what their worth is, and make people know that, oh, you can do better than this, and I like I said, through my own grief, I feel like I like, damn, what could I have said or what I could have done. It's all those thoughts that go on in my mind that I think about, and then it's almost too like, you know, um, just the thought of like those last moments, because I really wish all of this was like, I would rather, no, I don't want, but I would have, when he went to jail, something that we could have processed and said, oh, Preston in jail. I
Right.
think I would have been okay with any other
Yeah.
thing other than that, than this, because like I said, just the act itself is just something that I can't deal with, and I'm hoping that on Thursday, the message is clear.
Okay. So about Thursday, real quick, let's give the details for Thursday because you've been getting a lot of support from the community with the balloons, and everybody is jumped in the pitching. Even Boss Lady is pitching in too. So just give us everything that's going on Thursday.
So I wanted to be intentional about what Thursday meant. I mean, I didn't want to just have. And I will say this, shout out to Chrissy, because Chrissy is a longtime friend of Preston, and she was wanting to do a balloon release for Preston at Key Sport, but she jumped up and had a, but so she didn't know, like we all didn't get together and say what we wanted to do.
Right.
Once I found out what was going on, I wanted it to be impactful, because we want to start making sure that when we do these candlelight visuals that we recognize, especially if it was some form of violence, that we recognize what's going on, and what we can do. So I wanted to make sure, because Preston's personality and people loved him so much, I wanted to make sure that we could have an event to not only honor him, but to also say that the way he left, no more than a lot of other people have left due to gun violence, it's not okay.
Right.
And to make sure that we can get some people to say, hey, this is what we need to do and what we can do moving forward. Of course, we're gonna have people say some stuff, and people talk about the fun memories, but I didn't want it to be just a destination place to grieve, but also to start trying to navigate through our own healing, because we, at some point, even with myself, I'll probably have to. It's gonna probably take to after the funeral to start to figure out how to process my own, my own healing. But I wanted to make sure that we all came out in large numbers, so that's why I said 100 red balloons, because I wanted 100 people.
Right. So what's the
And
date,
it's over there. It's
the date, the time, and the location?
okay. So it's Thursday, and it's gonna be 7:30, and it's gonna be at the Irene Edge Triggs Myers
Okay.
Park in South Dallas. So that's the Lake Kirk Myers. That's his
Right.
mom's park, and I wanted to facilitate a space, because first I reached out to Maya, because I was going to try to do it at Rivershine, because I wanted us to be safe, and but it was suggested just to go there because it would have made more sense, and then we needed to make sure we had police and all of
Right.
that. So let me go back to this piece. One of the things that I wanted to do was make sure that, Preston, he had a large community that he was a part of.
Right.
But sometimes, y'all know this, if we don't really know or check the temperature of what the families are, we don't know what we can walk to. They may be okay with one or two coming, but if we coming by the hundreds, they may not be okay with that. So I needed to make sure that I created a space to where nobody get mad if they see this person come and it's an issue.
Right.
So that's why I did the live. I wanted to be really transparent about that this is for everybody. And not even just for people that knew him, but sometimes people find compassion in trying to find a solution to violence. So that was something that I also wanted to make sure that I was doing also. So I wanted to make sure that, number one, that we all can be safe.
Right.
And then I felt, me being, organized. I was like, well, Chris ain't saying nothing. She get back from DR on Thursday, so how this gonna work? So I knew, y'all know I don't operate like that. So I wanted to make sure that it was getting out there, and people started responding to the gun violence, and people started reaching out to me and saying, "Hey, is it okay if we come?"
Because you got more than 100 balloons.
But yeah,
Yeah,
so
you got way
but
more than that.
but the thing about it was that was the intent. If I only had 5 people there, it was fine. But I wanted as many as possible, and now we're trying to get candles. Like I gotta get some candles.
Okay.
Because I got more than enough balloons, but I wanted to make sure. And people have ordered balloons.
And
The first people,
I got boxes like 2 boxes of them ones that
oh,
the
you do?
candles.
Oh, that saves me. So the first person, the minute that I said I wanted 100 balloons, was John L. Wright, who has the right care. And the reason that I'm glad that he's coming is because, black, gay, and he owns an insurance company. One of the things that we are struggling with, and I'm going to touch on this too, is that every time something senseless happens and we lose somebody, we no one has insurance. And so we only was hearing that Preston may have had it, but we didn't know for sure. So y'all know, I'm finding how hard it is just to pay to get all of this. Funeral expenses is hard. And so I'm like, okay, well, let me reach out and see what we can do to try to get this on. Just moving forward, aside from this, let's just try to encourage people to get insurance, life insurance. And I even said this: even if the person don't feel like they're gonna get it, it's a delusion to think you're gonna live forever. I was saying to people's parents or family members, if you already kind of know this going on with your child or something, you get it. So don't make it hard on yourself. Pay that and he $10 a month.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
get this.
so you get it, and so that makes it easier on yourself. Like, I mean, it took our mama to put us on it. Like, she's trying to get a coin off of us, But
Okay.
though it's just those things. So I wanted to make sure I did that, and I wanted to make sure I was getting as much community support, especially other community leaders, to come out to say something and just to speak. And it did turn into to the point to where it's becoming almost like a headache, because I keep forgetting how many people knew Press.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
No, and so that in itself and is a like on both communities, you got the straight community, and then you got our community. So that's a lot of people. But I mean, I appreciate the support, and the thing that I appreciate too is like everybody that have ordered for balloons, and I appreciate everybody, because but one of the things that I that made me feel good, that was soothing, was Ahmad was like the very first person that texted me and was like, what do you need, and so that made me feel good, because I didn't even think that, because Ahmad is so busy, in his new position, that he would have the time. And he was just like, no. And I was like, well, I just want to get the park and make sure I don't have any problems. And, that was, that he said, okay, let me know. And then DeMondre got on it with security, and everything just started to happen.
Fall in place.
Fall in
Everything,
place.
yeah. And it was a big relief. And then I'm grateful because even from Marlon allowing Preston's mom to use the church, she goes there tomorrow to see it, because this funeral is finna, because
Okay.
the first place she was going to, it was just too small, and so we needed to have a place for the funeral, a large place. So Marlon at Lois Church in South Dallas offered. Then Lynn with Funeral Home. So we have so many people that have things that's going on. They have literally reached out to say whatever you need, and I'm grateful for that, because it's hard sometimes to be able to. But I'm real transparent. I don't mind getting on and saying, well, this is what's going on, because we just didn't have the money, and I didn't even know funerals cost that much.
Mm-hmm.
I did not even know funerals cost that much. Like, y'all charging $700-800 to drive somebody and pick somebody up. So I didn't know. So it was a lot. But people have sent me stuff like to look into after, to help the family. And his mom, she's still kind of shell shocked, and just bear with her, because she like me. One day she.
Good and everything.
Yeah, and that's why I say it's good for a lot of people to just kind of like step in, because I don't think it's hard to try to navigate with your child, and trying to put together, a funeral and stuff. So we were supposed to, because we're the community. He said we supposed to come in and say, hey, this is what we can do, whatever. But I was like, well, I want to let everybody know what was going on. Even with, I said, well, girl, don't be afraid to have a GoFundMe. Do you want us to create a GoFundMe? Yep. So I was intentional with that. Went over there to make sure that she went and uploaded her ID and her bank account, because I didn't want nobody saying that I was, because but I was really intentional because I wanted her to feel like we cared.
Yeah.
We were there to support. Even like I'm trying to find ways. Like I'm probably have to throw a show together on Tuesday to try to come up, because it cost a plot. You got to. So I
$5,000.
yeah. So it's like if we, could get this funeral paid for. Then it's like you got to bear, because she did not want him cremated, because she said she wanted to go and she wanted to be able to sit with him and stuff like that. So it's just been nonstop. So it's like if y'all know somebody or y'all have something, I'm most definitely like saying please don't think they don't need it, because she need,
So before we get out here, because I know we well over time. So that's Thursday, the balloon release, 7:30, Irene Triggs Myers Park in South Dallas, right there. If you're not familiar, it's like 2 blocks over from Abandoned Prosperity.
Oh, the address
It's
is
like-
They got the address. She been putting the
So
picture
yeah,
up.
so we got the flyer posted. We
Okay.
posted the flyer during the conversation. So if you see the flyer, just make sure you share it. If you do not have it, you can go to Shemar's page. You can go to my page. It's on both pages, and Neiman posted on his page as well. Will we be able to post it on the After Party Boss? Okay, and it's also going to be posted on the After Party Radio.
and we are not. This is not like a closed event. So because we are pushing, gun violence, that of course we're wanting people that have had some form of, even not just with gun violence, if you've experienced some form of domestic violence, we're wanting everybody to come out, because I do think that it's a good opportunity to see. But this is the part that I would say this is a casualty of that. And that's why I've also been pushing, like, if you in a situation and it's domestic or whatever, y'all it's okay to leave, and seriously on both ends. No, that's what I've been pushing. But I wanted to say that too, that we are, we're welcoming a lot of people. I didn't tell anybody from, like Demondre said, from Smash the Topic to any news, like texting me. I didn't tell anybody no that they couldn't come, because we wanted to do this. And
exposure.
and right now people are also, they're attracted to the conversation. I think as the story is getting out, people are they want to
Be support.
yeah.
So we will see you all Thursday. Irene Triggs Myers Park, right there in South Dallas. Again, it's on the address is on the flyer. Shemar, we thank you for coming and sitting and having this conversation with us. Boss Lady, we thank you for riding it out with us.
I
Don't
appreciate
forget,
you.
we'll be back next week, same time, same place, right here at the After Party Radio. Don't forget, if you are not following Real Gents Real Talk, make sure you follow. Make sure you follow the After Party Radio. We'll be back next week. We thank y'all for tuning in. We love you all, and good night.
Good night.
Good night. Thank y'all.
You know I got us.